Amadiya was a separate eparchy of the Chaldean Catholic Church until it was united with the Chaldean Catholic Eparchy of Zakho in 2013. History. The diocese was established on 1785 and named for the hilltop city of Amadiya in northern Iraq. It lost territory in 1852, established the eparchies of Aqra and Zakho, but on the 23rd of April 1895 it regained territory from the suppressed daughter diocese of Aqra. Yet on the 24th of February 1910 it lost territory again to re-establish the eparchy of Aqra. In 1913 it included Amadiya city itself and 16 villages in the Tigris Plain near the town of Duhokamn in the Sapna and Gomel River valleys. On the 10th of June 2013 it was renamed as Diocese of Amadiya and Zakho, or Amadiya and Zakho, having gained territory from the suppressed daughter eparchy of Zakho. Background. There were three main concentrations of East Syrian villages in the Amadiya region: in the Sapna Valley to the west of Amadiya, in the Tigris Plain around Duhokamn, and in the Shemkan district around the valley of the Gomel River. Before the 14th century, the Sapna Valley was part of the Diocese of Dasan and Beth Tur, which lay to the north of Marga and also covered the Bowari region and the Zabar and Lower Tiyari districts. The villages in the Duhokamn district were included in the East Syrian Diocese of Beth Nuhadra, whose bishops resided in the small town of Tel Hesh near Alkosh, and those in the Gomel Valley in the Diocese of Marga, centered on the Aqra region. The last known bishops of Beth Nuhadra and Dasan, Isho-Yhb and Matai, were present at the consecrations of Makika II in 1257 and Yabul-Ahal III in 1281 respectively, and it is unclear when either diocese came to an end. No bishops of the Amadiya region are known from the 14th and 15th centuries. After the schism of 1552, the region remained loyal to the Nestorian Patriarch Shimon VII Nisho-Yhb and his opponent Yohanan Sulaka. The first Chaldean Patriarch was martyred in 1554 after an attempt to win over Amadiya's East Syrian community. Thereafter the region seems to have been claimed by both patriarchates for some decades. A metropolitan Abdasho of Koma, probably the Sapna village of Khomein with its recently revived monastery of Mar Abdasho of Kom, was among the signatories of a letter of 1580 from Shimon Externa to Pope Gregory XIII, and the Dasan district was claimed by the Ochanes Patriarch Shimon Shi in 1653. On the other hand, a Bishop Abraham of Beth Tur is mentioned among the hierarchy of Eliyahu in the report of 1610. Given its proximity to Alkosh, it would be surprising to find the region under the influence of the Quds Hanis patriarchs, and the surviving manuscripts copied for the Duhokamn, Sapna and Shemkan villages invariably mention patriarchs of the Elia line. By the end of the 18th century, the Mosul Patriarchate had a diocese of Amadiya for the region. The Patriarch Elia XIII Nisho-Yhb consecrated his nephew Nanasho Metropolitan of Amadiya in September 1784 after his withdrawal to Amadiya, with the intention of preserving the patriarchal succession within his family. Nanasho made a Catholic profession of faith in 1795, but was felt by the Latin missionaries to be insincere. In 1801 the Vatican informed them that he could not be received as a bishop in the Catholic Church without manifest signs of penitence. Shortly afterwards in the same year, Nanasho openly defied the Vatican, consecrating the priest Peter Shaw as Metropolitan of Sit. Nanasho seems to have become reconciled with Yohanan Hormizd after the death of Elia XIII Nisho-Yhb in 1804. as in 1808 he was living in his household in Alcosh. He was senior to Yohanan and governed the Diocese of Amadiya, but all the same could do nothing without the approval of the Metropolitan Yohanan. Although he sympathized with Gabriel Dambo's monastic order, his dependence on Yohanan Hormizd occasionally forced him to act against his better judgment. In 1808 he asserted himself by delivering the monastery of Rabban Hormizd to Gabriel Dambo in defiance of Yohanan Hormizd's wishes. In 1811, however, on Yohanan Hormizd's instructions, he became a Nestorian at Amadiya and expelled Dambo and his monks from the monastery with the assistance of the civil authorities. In 1813 he fell mortally ill, and made amends for his harsh treatment of the monks on his deathbed by returning the keys of the monastery to them. He died shortly afterwards and was buried in the monastery of Rabban Hormizd, among the tombs of the patriarchs of the Nestorians, Chaldean bishops of Amadiya. Some years earlier a Catholic diocese had been established in the region with the consecration by Yohanan Hormizd of his nephew Mattai Shemon for Amadiya on the 5th of May 1790. Shemon, originally named Yohanan, was the son of Yohanan's brother the priest Georgis, and appears to have been consecrated on the suggestion of the missionary Maurizio Chisoni. There is no need to doubt the sincerity of Yohanan Hormizd's commitment to the Catholic faith at this period, but the appointment was of course also directed against his rival Elia XIII Nisho Yhb. After his consecration, Shemon made a determined effort to convert a number of villages in the Sapna Plain and the Zabao district to Catholicism. He was killed by brigands not far from the Great Zab in 1811. Basil Asma of Tel Kepe, a monk of the monastery of Rabban Hormizd, was consecrated for Amadiya et Amid by the patriarchal administrator Augustin Hindi in April 1824, but seems to have had no contact with his diocese. He resided in his home village of Tel Kepe until 1827, apparently in fear of the governor of Amadiya, known to be a friend of Yohanan Hormizd, and in 1827 fled to Amid, becoming its metropolitan in 1828. Basil Asma was succeeded as Metropolitan of Amadiya in 1830 by the energetic Joseph Ordo, who was transferred from Mosul to the Diocese of Amadiya under the settlement which confirmed Yohanan Hormizd his patriarch and ended the schism in the Chaldean Church. During his metropolitanate, Ordo converted many of the villages of the Sapna Valley to Catholicism. After he became patriarch in 1848, he was succeeded as Metropolitan of Amadiya in 1851 by Abdasho Thomas Diasho, a monk of the monastery of Rabban Hormizd, who died in 1859. The future patriarch Abdasho Georgis Koyat became Bishop of Amadiya in 1860. He was succeeded in 1874 by Mattai Paul Shamina, who exchanged dioceses in 1879 with Kyriakos Georgis Goga, Bishop of Zakho, who resigned in 1893. Elia Joseph Koyat was elected for Amadiya in 1893, but at the Synod of Alcosh in 1894 the newly elected Patriarch Abdashovi Koyat asked to retain him as his patriarchal vicar. As a result, the dioceses of Amadiya and Aqra were temporarily united under Yaquob Yohanan Sa'ar, Bishop of Aqra, who was responsible for the united diocese from the 23rd of April 1895 until his death in 1909. He was succeeded as Bishop of Amadiya by Francis Dowd of Araden, who had been Sa'ar's Vicar General for several years previously. He was consecrated for Amadiya on the 15th of August 1910, resided in the Sapna village of Araden, and remained Bishop of Amadiya until his death in 1939. Francis Daud's successors were Yohanan Corio, Raphael Raban, Raphael Bidorvi, Andrew Sana, Kyriakos Moussa, and Yohanan Kello. In December 2001, the elderly Bishop Yohanan Kello of Amadiya, who died on 7 September 2002, was succeeded by Rabban Al-Qais. Rabban Al-Qais was also Apostolic Administrator of the Chaldean Archdiocese of Erbil, vacant since the death of Yaquub Ben Shah in 2005, until the appointment of Bashawada in 2010. In July 2013, the Chaldean Diocese of Amadiya was united with the vacant Diocese of Zakho. Currently Rabban Al-Qais is the Bishop of Zakho and Amadiya. Population statistics. In 1850, the Diocese of Amadiya included the towns of Duhokamn, Amadiya and 14 villages, all but one either around Duhokamn or in the Gomel and Sapna valleys, and contained 466 Chaldean families, with 8 priests and 14 churches. The diocese also included at this period the Catholic communities in Herpa and Barzan, and probably other villages in the Aqra region. In the 1850s, Duhokamn and several villages in the Duhokamn district and Aqra region were transferred to the new dioceses of Zakho and Aqra. The reduced Diocese of Amadiya contained 6,020 Chaldeans, with 10 priests in 1867, and 3,000 Chaldeans, with 13 priests and 16 churches, in 1896. In 1913, the diocese included Amadiya and 16 villages, most of them in the Sapna and Gomel valleys, and contained 4,970 Chaldeans, with 19 priests and 10 churches. A recently published book by U.L. Barber has supplied the Syriac names of the villages in the Diocese of Amadiya. Chaldean communities in the Diocese of Amadiya. 1913 Tafiji mentioned that the diocese contained about 4,000 Nestorians in 1913, a figure not much smaller than its Chaldean population. This is a remarkably high figure for the Sapna and Shemkan villages, exposed to Catholic influence for over a century, and as Chabot did not mention a substantial traditionalist population in the diocese in 1896, it probably included the population of the East Syrian villages in the Berwari region, perhaps considered nominally part of the Diocese of Amadiya after the conversion of the traditionalist Bishop Isho Yhb of Berwari in 1903.